Hi, and welcome to the Days of Learning podcast. I'm your host, David Nelson, and it's so good to be here today. The Days of Learning podcast, where we discuss health, wellness, medicine, community engagement, and equity. The Days of Learning podcast is brought to you by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the Wisconsin Department of Health, Milwaukee County Organizations Promoting Prevention, and the Medical College of Wisconsin. Today, my guest is Blanca Esmeralda Martinez. And our title is Navigating the Latinx Community for Health. But really, I think it's about navigating because Esme, as her friends call and family call her, has quite a story. Esme, welcome to the Days of Learning podcast.
Hi, David. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's such
This
a
is
joy.
exciting.
You know, I'm so excited to have you here. I was talking to one of my colleagues, Sophia Torios, who said, you must talk to my friend Esme. And I said, sure, I think that sounds interesting because she certainly knows community engagement. She has a strong understanding of the Latinx community, and I think she can talk about health. And I said, you know, that's the triple trifecta. So Esme, tell me how you know Sophia. So tell me about that.
Okay, so Sophia really has been, now we're very close friends, but she played a big role in my life where I was exposed or introduced to working in the community. And through that, I actually chose my major. She was a community leader for Muskego neighborhood, which is the neighborhood that I live in, that I go to church in. So it was really nice that she reached out and she included me in just all the planning, all the meetings. It was just wonderful working with her.
You know, I'm so glad that you said a few things, and I forgot to say who you are and what you're about. I said your name, but Esme is a student at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. She works for the MPS. She works for the, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on it. You work for Recreation Department. Oh my gosh, I should have known that.
Milwaukee Rec.
The Milwaukee Rec. I didn't have that in there. And she's the owner of Essence Resume Consulting, and we're going to get into that. But we love Milwaukee Rec, and I knew that's where you worked, but sometimes my mind goes blank, and that's how it goes. But Esme, so you talk about this idea of understanding and working in the community and choosing your major that way, but I want to go back because it's important to hear about your journey. Esme, tell us about your journey to this point.
So my parents immigrated from Mexico. So I was raised in Milwaukee. I'm born in Mexico, but raised in Milwaukee the whole time. Haven't moved anywhere. Went to school here with the Milwaukee Public School System, so MPS, and worked here in Milwaukee. So in my teen years, I joined this church, which has really played a big part in my faith as well. And faith is really what kind of motivates me. My pastor, has fed in me to walk the talk. So it's not just about believing, but it's also putting hands in, so working, and whatever is needed. And I think that's really like in my teen years that I started, getting involved and volunteering, going to church and just helping out. By 18, I became a youth leader. So it was, my church is part of a bigger faith organization. So I was a leader here locally in Milwaukee and was helping youth around the District of Wisconsin, which, involved youth in Racine, Kenosha, Madison. And then maybe a couple years after that, I was part of the regional board, and that allowed me to travel the Midwest and to oversee and just help other leaders in other districts, specifically with the District of Minnesota. And that was around 18, 19, 20. And then after that...
So hold on, hang on. There's no after that.
Okay.
You at 18 or 19 are in charge of church development in 2 states?
Yes.
Wait a minute. At 18, I was looking for a date. And you're developing churches. I'm gonna have you go back because I think this is important. When we talk
Okay.
about the community, you talked about your parents immigrating from Mexico. And I know from our previous conversation, your parents and your family are extremely important to you.
Yes.
Tell me about immigrating to the US from what your parents have told you and what you remember and what that meant to you.
Wow. So I came when I was 2 years old, so I
Mm-hmm.
don't remember much. I think it is important to say that I am a DACA recipient.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is that I'm allowed to live like a resident in some ways, where it means I can have a job, I
Mm-hmm.
can drive with no fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I cannot travel, so I cannot go back home and visit my
Mm.
family. But my parents, wow, they, I mean, if you think about it, they came to this country without knowing the language,
Mm-hmm.
without knowing the area, and really without knowing what resources were there for them. I think my parents missed out a lot on resources and just um, getting educated and knowing that there's a community of support for them. But they just taught me to work hard,
Mm.
to value family, because I didn't grow up with big family here in the city. And they just taught me, it didn't matter what the struggle was, there was always a way, and we would, move past that, whatever struggle it was.
Did they ever tell you about some of their struggles? Have they shared some of that with you?
Yes. So I think growing up, I didn't notice, because you're just a kid and you're just
Mm-hmm.
living life. I mean, you just see that, yeah, I don't go to the big family parties, but I still have my mom and my dad here. We still um, shared moments, and, but now that I'm older, I think I'm more aware and just more more understanding of what their struggles was. Just finding a job a lot of times was difficult for them, because they didn't know the language. Or sometimes, my dad uh, shared that at times at his job, they didn't treat him fairly
Mm.
because they knew that there wasn't a way for him to defend himself.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, he shared that with me. He worked for a fabric for about over 8 years or 10
Okay.
years. Yeah, but I mean, way after that, he just decided to work harder and find resources, and now he's a business owner. But he's a great example of what a hardworking man is. And
What's
my mom, she's amazing.
so
What can I
all
do
right,
without my
before you
mom?
tell me about your mother, because and your
Yes.
father will get on to me if we don't give a shout out to the business. So what's your father's business?
It's floor maintenance. So he does strip and waxing for commercial stores.
Right now, what's the name of that business?
Express cleaning solutions.
Got it. Express Cleaning Solutions. So there, we've given a
Yes.
shout out to your father.
Yeah.
Tell me about your mother.
My mom, wow, she is so loving. She's so kind. She hosts anyone. When she brings them into our homes, she treats them just, she goes above and beyond. She always, makes authentic Mexican dishes, and she will not rest. That woman will not rest. She will make sure that whoever comes over feels welcomed.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So, who are you more like, your father or your mother?
Wow. I think I have a good mix of both,
I
but if
think you do
I want to,
too.
say. Yeah. Yeah, I
We
think
won't,
so too.
we
And I
won't,
don't want to say
we
which
won't
one.
divide, we won't divide the family.
Yeah.
But we know, yeah, but you are hardworking. That was probably not a fair question. So
Oh.
I'll change it then. So what is the dish that your mom's dish that is her specialty?
It would be pozole. It's
Ah,
not sure if you're familiar with it, but it's basically chicken with the stew. We eat it with chips and all kinds of toppings.
oh man. We're
Mhm.
talking in the evening, so you're making me hungry. So there.
Ah.
But you talked about you're walking the talk and working hard and valuing the things around you, even if it's not large amounts. How is that? I want to bring it back to you now. How has that influenced the way you look at the world?
Well, we could say that for a very long time growing up, um, in seventh grade, my teacher said, well, if you don't have a social security number, you can't go to college. And, at seventh grade, as being a seventh grader, it was not giving me hope.
Mm,
And I think that's when I realized what an immigrant was, what it meant. And then just growing up, I kind of was given opportunities. So I think that if you are in a situation where the odds may not be in your favor, there will always be an opportunity if you take it. If you
mm.
work hard for them, there's always a way. So, what my dad taught me, there's always a way. It might not look like you want it to look like, but opportunities are always in one's lives, and we just have to take them.
If you could say something to that teacher now, what might you say to that person? And we won't name names again. We won't do that.
Of course not. What would I say? I would say that I can do it.
Hmm.
Um, it might not be easy, but it's doable. I can do it. And not just with school, but with anything else.
Hmm. Do you have an example from those? You said when you find opportunities, and I want to actually drill down. How did you know there were opportunities and not more roadblocks?
Wow. I think it has to do with perspective and attitude. And
Hmm.
that's where my faith played a big role,
Okay.
where it was in small roles, hey, do you want to be part of this? And then they start making you part of a community, and you start seeing an opportunity not just to lead or be something big, but more of an opportunity to serve. And when you see the needs of others, and when you see, wow, like I can help here, then that road starts taking you to something bigger. It takes you to something where you feel fulfilled, where you feel that you're actually making a difference. So I think attitude and perspective
Well,
play a
I
big
love
role.
that perspective and attitude. And you said small roles and to serve. And I actually said in my mind, there are no small roles. There's only oftentimes small perspective and small attitudes. And so yours is to say, how can I use what I'm provided at this time to serve others? And that's, I'm very faith-based. And so that does speak to our faith to say, provide, use the opportunities that are provided. Those who are given much will be much is expected of them. Those who are giving a little, little is expected of them. So you had
Right.
seen this in your parents. And I was thinking as you were talking, Esme, that what if I were dropped in a country where I didn't speak the language, I didn't know the customs, I didn't know the culture, and I had a baby with me, and I had to go get a job? It's like you would do anything for just to get by, but you can't imagine the challenges that must come with, especially if you are a person of color coming into a white dominated culture.
Right. I admire my parents for their
Mm,
courage, for their
courage.
strive to work, and I think their perspective was also a positive one, where it was, yes, I sacrificed family, I sacrificed my culture, but for a better life, to give opportunities to my kids, to my children. So I think it also tells you about how the opportunities in the other country must have not been so accessible.
You know, and we are thankful that your mother and father never gave up and said we're going to leave because we would never have gotten to see you then. And so it's joyful that that idea of courage and striving. Has it been easy for you?
It has not been easy. Um, when I graduated from high school, 2013, I could not finish college. I went for a semester and realized,
Hmm.
oh my gosh, this is going to be a struggle, not just for myself, but for my family and as a first generation. So, um, that was that was difficult, especially because growing up, you're in school all the time, and then all of a sudden you just don't know what to do. But like my parents taught me, we needed to work hard, and so I started working full time as a cashier at a local store, LA. That's where I started off.
We love
Learned
LA.
as much as yeah, and I love them too because they give me the opportunity. I was young and they said, hey, you want to work? Okay, let's do it. So I took the opportunity. I learned as much as I could. I was always available for whatever they needed. And um, then I was promoted to being a bank teller at Western Union. So I learned as much as I could there and followed to work through 16th Street. And of course, all these promotions, were there was perks to them, not only financially, but now my lunch hour was went from 15 minutes to an hour. Um, the days were much more flexible. I didn't have to work weekends anymore. And it's just build yourself up. And so after 16th Street, then I landed in Milwaukee Public Schools as a secretary. And I loved working there. I just loved customer service. But I mean, if you really think about it, we're not selling anything. We're there to help families, we're there to help the children. And wow, I just admire teachers and principals because they get it from students, from the families, but then they get it from above, their
Hmm.
regionals, their supervisors. So they're always in that's their life, and I was part of it. I was able to see it. I was able to see, behind the scenes, the things that people don't see. Um, and I loved working there. I think that was the hardest transition, going to Milwaukee Rec, because I felt welcomed. I felt like I knew everyone and everyone knew me. And there was, you just walk in the mornings and feel like you're at home and just have really nice relationships with them.
You know, Esme, I want to ask you, I'm going to have you react to this
Okay.
because this we spoke before we began. The title of this is about navigating it, and you were navigating from becoming a person of this country to this idea of working hard and looking for opportunity, and then you navigated school and you navigated work, and now you've ended in a place where you're helping other people navigate.
Yes. And I love it. I think
What do you love
that
about it?
I think it's really impacting to see others sometimes in their struggle. They don't know where to turn to, and sometimes I can
Mm.
think about my parents that way too. They didn't know who to turn to. And I want to be that person that they can turn to, and I want to be welcoming, and I want to say, hey, I might not know exactly where you're headed, but at least you're here and I can help navigate this part of your life, and then send them off, and then expect, that send them off and hope the best for them. Because I don't think you should stay in one place forever, and whatever that is, not just career wise, but um even in family and faith, you're always just trying to do more.
You know what? You are walking the talk, Miss Esme, because you are going places, and I see this in you. But I want to ask you to reflect upon those families that you help move forward, whether even through something like recreation, which we know is important to families and children. What is the response that you get from some of those families? Does anything come to mind?
So I had this phone call. I'm an accounting assistant, so I don't have much interaction right now with the families, but I received this phone call of a mom who was just so thankful that there was still activities going on. Because of course with the pandemic and everything going on, they're not finding space to just relax.
Mm.
And I'm here listening to her for the for the longest, and I'm like, yes, I'm happy that she's feeling that way, because we provided that for them, or the department that I work for is there to help them to just not see struggles all the time, to see that there are resources out there for them and that
Mm.
we care. We're not just an institution who wants money. We want more
Yep.
than just that. We're after their well-being.
What does that do for other people when you act in such a way?
I think I think it gives them hope. I think it gives other people hope that not everything is bad, or there is opportunity. There is.
Opportunity.
Mhm.
How'd you get so wise?
It's um I'm very, I don't know. I think it's because ever since I was little, I always had to be aware.
Mm.
I grew up with my parents needing me, and most of the time when it was translating or interpreting papers, documents, and things that maybe I didn't understand at such a young age, but I had to try.
Did it force you to become older than you probably were at the time?
Yes, it did. It
Yeah.
did. I have two siblings, so I had to take care of them sometimes.
You are the oldest then.
Yes,
You have the tendency of the oldest. You're taking charge.
I have to.
So, Esme, I want to ask you, because I think because of your journey, you're navigating, and from El Rey to a student, where you started school, El Rey, Western Union, 16th Street, MPS, Milwaukee Rec. Talk to me about community. Tell me how you envision community. Let's start there.
For a very long time, I thought community meant neighborhood. And I think a lot of people can confuse the
Sure.
two. But I then realized that community is just a space where you find opportunity and support. So
Mm.
I think they're interconnected, right? And it's an opportunity to grow, to learn, to feel accepted, and an opportunity to serve, an opportunity to lead, an opportunity to express yourself. Um, but then with that comes support. So it bringing the resources available to you, because I support what you're doing, or I'm going to respect you as my leader because I'm providing my support that way. So I think a community is anywhere that you find opportunity and that you find the support. If you don't have that, I think it's not a community, because then it's not allowing you to be who you really are.
You know, that is so interesting at a number of levels, but I want to go this way because this is about the health and however the health however we define it. But many of the times we find that within the Black and Brown community and in the Latinx community, they struggle in the health realm, and we can look at some of the health statistics. Do you have a sense of why that might be? And more importantly, how this idea of opportunity and support can be used to improve the health of the community?
Well, for me, when we're talking about health, we're not only talking about physical health.
Mm-hmm.
I think emotional, mental, and spiritual health have a big role in everyone's lives, because at some point of your life, you're going to find one of those in your life. And so you want to find a community that will help you get through that, no matter what you're going through. If it's a mental health, if you're depressed, that you find somewhere that will support you and will give you an opportunity, will not marginalize you for what you're going through or see you for what you've been through. Instead, see for what you can be and what you can become.
You used a word that I want to go further, and I don't want to make an assumption about that word. You said the word marginalize. What does that mean to you?
Marginalized is just, for me, would say it would say not to be included, but instead to be excluded. And
Okay.
I think I'm one of the locals. For a very long time, we can say that I'm part of a statistic. So I'm just breaking those stereotypes. Where immigrants are criminals. Well, no, I'm your neighbor. I'm your coworker. I go to the same church with you. I shop at the same grocery shop. Or that, even living in Milwaukee, that's, a lot of people can stereotype Milwaukee as a bad community or a bad city, but I grew up in a place where, sure, sometimes I didn't know if it was fireworks or gunshots. Or I'd be sitting at the front porch and all of a sudden a fight would break out. So yes, I did see that. But I also saw how my dad's car sometimes would break down and the neighbor would come and help him. And then they would both work on fixing the car. I would see how maybe my neighbor would grow peaches, and she would share with all the kids in the block. So we're just breaking stereotypes here, where people that might be marginalized can feel included.
And you really make me think about hope, that word hope again, because again, the words are powerful. And there are people that would say that all people that aren't from here must be criminals or something along those lines. You use that word criminalize. But yet, we are all that physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. And we all struggle. And we all have to look for those opportunities to, as you said, break down the stereotypes. Has that been harder during this pandemic for the community that you're a part of?
Yes, it is, because I can think of the neighborhood meetings. I can think about the worship Sundays, it's not the same anymore. Where I work, everybody tries to maintain their distance because, of course, we're all trying to um, flatten the curve.
Mm-hmm.
But it does make it hard because you don't interact so much with one another and, sit down and talk about everybody else's journey, what they're going through. So it is kind of harder.
Yeah, I was thinking about the idea of if we're here to support one another in this time of pandemic, it's harder to do so. The isolation, and for some of the people where some of the people of the community, English is not the first language; it's the second language, and so some of the things that they might miss in translation. Do you think that's the case?
Yes, it could be. Hmm.
Yeah. So I want to drill down a little bit around the health because one of the things that we're interested in is decreasing the impact of diabetes and hypertension. How might we connect community to opportunities to do more around the space of diabetes and hypertension in the Latinx community? Do you have any thoughts on that?
My mom's a diabetic.
Okay.
Um, so I think I loved what 16th Street was doing
Mm-hmm.
because they were making sure that these resources were available to the Hispanic community. And
Mm-hmm.
something so simple like having a, a, a brochure in Spanish and just making her
Mm.
aware of what foods to eat, what foods not to eat. But I can just imagine if that brochure was um, only in English. I mean, what would that cause? My mom wouldn't understand. Of course, now she has us, but if you think about someone that might arrive here by themselves or are not familiar with the language, all of these things, it's important. And just I like what 16th Street was doing. So I guess when we're planning or when we're bringing ideas to the table, we have to be more considerate about the Hispanic community and doing a simple change, like translating our stuff, our documents.
Yeah, and we know from community engagement, asking someone locally, is this understood? Because as we've talked about, the Latinx community is not a monolith. It is varied as the day is long, and there are many types. There are many cultures and many customs and many even nuances of language that we have to be mindful of. So asking people, does this make sense? Even if one Spanish is not all Spanish. And
Right.
so the idea of where people are coming, the dialect, it all matters. Even I can imagine even some of the customs, the colors, and the foods that people eat are
Yes.
are are varied.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So we need to reach across, as you said already. So, Esme, tell me about where you are now. So you're in college. You're in college now.
Yes. I'm at UW Milwaukee, majoring in community engagement and education.
Tell
And
me about that.
well, for a very long time, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I As opposed to my sister, she knew she wanted to be a teacher ever since she was little, always. And now she's in her junior year. She's going to become a teacher. But for me, I was like, well, I like to do a lot of things. I just don't know what. And my faith community, the working with the neighborhood, or just volunteering for the neighborhood, kind of brought that to me and just saying, hey, there's a lot of projects to work on. There's a lot of opportunities around here where we can make a difference. Um, and I don't have to just stay in one place. And community engagement was what it is, what just caught my attention. I was like, wow, that sounds perfect. Just being everywhere and helping others.
Esme, community engagement is perfect for you. I've been in the field for a
Me
long
too.
time, and we need people like you. Frankly, it goes back to that navigating. I know I'm probably biased at this point, but you are a navigator. And the beauty of community engagement is that you can take it anywhere
Right.
and do anything with it, as you have demonstrated, even without any training, by doing all the things in banking and in food and in healthcare, and now working in education. You know, you are,
Yes.
you know, I don't know what that leaves. That leaves, you know, there, you've done a lot of things at this age and helped to navigate. Because I want you to ask, to react to this. The things that you have done make you to who you are and who you are becoming. How have all those things made you who you are?
Um, well, I think that it's made me a risk taker. It's made me more, it's given me courage and also knowledgeable. It's expanded my networking as well, and it's also helped me be compassionate.
Oh,
Yeah.
tell me more about
Um,
that.
well, sure, I struggled growing up, but I'm sure that there's others that struggled even more. Maybe a mom and dad that didn't have kids that could help them. Um, and so, yes, I was maybe, like I said, maybe growing up, I struggled, but there are others who maybe didn't have everything that I did have. And so I don't like to dwell so much on my experience. I like to see what others are going through.
And you can see that by all of the places and the people that you have navigated. You can see when people are struggling.
Um, I'm not very good at public speaking, but I think I'm very good at making relationships one-on-one. I like just getting coffee with, if it's my youth member, I'll, take them out on coffee and just talk to them. I like checking up on people and seeing how they're doing. How can I help? Sometimes they don't ask for help and I'm like, hey, here, look, I saw this announcement. They're doing this, or maybe you're interested in this. So I love that.
You know, you know, in a sense, you are public speaking, and we're doing this now, and you're doing great. And so,
Thank you.
perhaps we need to find a larger audience than me for you, because I think that you have no fear, and you are pretty good at this. Esme, you have talked about this, and I want to give you a position to speak into this.
Mm.
You talked about the spiritual side and how you have done things with your church and for the church. How has your faith helped shape you to who you are today? And how do you see that growing for the future?
Um, well, as we all know, faith means believing in what you don't see, like if it was, right? So I just, and it's something that it's a lifestyle. It's not a wish. It's just something that you have to live believing that I can do this, live believing that there is a calling, but it's not one calling. It's a calling every day to be loving, to show um like the patience, to show kindness, to show love, and just make that difference every day. Not just it's not like a long-term goal. It's a little goals every day. And
Mhm.
I think that's what's helped me to see how can I make a difference today.
Mhm. I want you to give me that again. The believing part. And I want you to slow it down for me, because I had a hard time keeping up, and I think our audience will want to hear it again. So say it
Okay.
again. You
Faith
said,
is living and seeing things as if they are, even if they are not.
hmm.
So seeing the potential in something. in you, in someone else, in the project that you have in your hands, seeing it as if it was already fulfilled and just working hard for it.
That's pretty deep, and it really has to go to your core of who you are, because you said, I have to do this every day.
Yes.
So you have to rededicate yourself every day. So this isn't a one and done.
No, it's not. No. And every day is a new opportunity to
Oh my
learn.
goodness, there's that word again.
Yes. It's just a new opportunity to show grace, right? With
What do you
people
mean?
that, well, showing grace is just giving that extra opportunity. You know, sometimes I I think that we go based on what we hear from other people. And so then we immediately close our minds to it or ourselves to it.
Mm.
And then we don't give that opportunity. But if we show a little bit of grace, we might be into a surprise and actually see that there was something bigger and better.
We can cut ourselves off, can't we, from that opportunity?
Right. Yes.
So I wanna share something with you, and I've never done this on the podcast. So I have these cards by my desk, right?
Okay.
And I'm going to
Awesome.
turn it over, and I'm going to see if you can see what it is. I'm going to put it near my camera. Could you see what it says?
Yes. Grace.
Grace. And so I have two of them. I have one that's hanging up and one that's sitting right there. And so because I need a lot of grace, I got to give a lot of grace. And so
Right.
if I've stepped in it, and in community engagement, we often step in things. We get in our own way. And I think that goes true when we draw assumptions about people and about situations and about what they are or what they are not.
Right. Right.
But it allows us to connect at a deeper level when we show a little grace.
Mm-hmm.
So, Esme, you have, in all of the things that you are and that you're doing, you're also a youth leader.
Yes.
Tell
Yes.
me about being a youth leader. Who do you youth lead?
Wow, it is an amazing journey. Honestly, I love it so much because you can just bring ideas and there's a lot of ways to go about it, you know, and fun ways. So I led 12-year-olds to, you know, adult age. So just, I guess a wide range of youth and young adults. And it was for my church locally, and then district-wise. So that was just the youth here in Kenosha, Racine, Madison, and those were our sister churches.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we do is, and I say we because it's not just me; it's myself and a team, of course.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to bring the logistics down, and and one of my favorite things was to do youth retreats. And we would just go all out in our youth retreats. So we would give them an opportunity to showcase their talent. So if it was poetry, singing, you know how to play an instrument, you want to draw a piece of art, just do it. We would give them a theme just to get them, you know, and to give them an idea. And then we would check in on them, say, hey, like, what are you going to bring? And we had to promote this event so much to get the youth to go. The largest group that went was about 125, and it goes for 2 days. And so we bring this space to them where it's where then we would bring like spiritual workshops, you know, different topics, of course, how to build their faith, but then also things on like self-esteem or how to do better in school, things like that, or even just the leadership workshops. And so it was just very fun to bring that to them. It was a lot of work, but it really did pay off. I mean, every year the group just keeps getting bigger.
Mm.
This March, we were able to pull it off for the 5th year, right before the shutdown. So yeah, it was
I,
amazing.
I am not surprised in the least bit that you were able to pull that off. But Esme, help some of our leaders understand how you make the connection with a 12-year-old.
I think you have to be graceful. We're talking about grace.
Yeah.
And so there are a lot of things that can go wrong, yes, but there's also a lot of things that can go right. So you have to give them opportunities.
Do you have an
You have to
example?
be
Do you have an
grateful.
example of how that worked out for you?
Yes. So even in our organization, we have to go through elections. So you have to be nominated, or if you are willing to work, then you just, fill out a nomination form and nominate yourself. And then go and write for elections. Well, we had and then these elections are only for like adults, so 18 and over. Well, we had a young girl who was 17, and she was 16, and that opportunity was given to her, and she was just amazing. I mean, she went to all the meetings. She helped in everything that we needed to get done. So logistics. So whether it was a flyer, whether it was an announcement, whether it was calling this other young person to see if they were going to participate, if they had their forms done. So you could be surprised by what you give a 12, a 13, 14-year-old. I mean, many of our participants for the talent shows were 12 to 14, 12 to 15, and they would showcase their talents in a big audience. Sometimes adults sometimes are not even courageful enough. But these young people were, and so then you start feeding into them courage, strength, and then you start helping them see their skills, helping them see their talents.
You see something in them, don't you? And you help bring it out.
Yes.
You're navigating again, I'm telling you.
Aww.
Esme, tell me about the Latinx culture from your perspective. Paint a picture for us of what you see. I always like to learn about other cultures because I have been invited into many cultures and I love learning about cultures. I want to hear it from you and see it from your eyes. Paint me a picture. Tell me about it.
Okay. So I didn't grow up with a big family, but the food is amazing, and it just brings a lot of people together. So whether it's a birthday, whether it's a wedding, a small celebration, anything, there's always food, and there's always a lot of food. So we in our church we like to do a Christmas dinner, and we go all out. We dress up like gala style, it's just amazing. It's fun. And this year we brought like Mexican dishes, but we also brought Puerto Rican dishes. We brought dishes from El Salvador, dishes from Guatemala, and there was just so much food. Everybody just had to take some after the party, and it was incredible to see the different kind of meals that they make for Christmas. But it's amazing. Oh, and we even had Dominican food, so it's just a lot of seasoning and a lot of it. Whatever you want to bring to a party, whatever you want to bring when you're hosting someone, you'll just see a lot of it. So be ready.
It helps build community, doesn't it?
It does.
Esme, what are some of your practices that you participate in on a regular or daily basis? What are some of the things that you do, your rhythms that make you who you are?
Um, I think it's just being a risk taker, and I think it's also, I think it has to do with being humble as well. I mean,
Oh,
you don't have to say that, but I
mm,
think we talked so much about grace, and all the odds were against me, if we want to say, I'm part of statistics. um, but I think I'm just I just carry myself with, it's okay, it's not just grace. Grace. I think it
yeah.
goes back to that.
I see you as, I think that the idea of you are very thoughtful, and I can see it in you that you think about things deeply.
Mm,
Because of the things you've seen in this idea of navigating and helping your parents and helping others, that it may seem like risk, but it's like sometimes you could have that small little nugget, the faith like the mustard seed, right?
yes.
Which grows into the great big bush. And maybe that's what you are. You have that faith like a mustard seed.
Hmm. I think so. Yes, faith
Mm.
is a big important part of my life then.
Oh my goodness. We know it is. Esme, what do you see for yourself for the future?
Well, I hope to finish school since it's a goal that I've been having for many years.
Not a hope.
But
We will finish school.
yes, yes, we will finish school. And maybe be a part of a different project where I might be more hands-on. Um, I want to go into my career, of course, and hmm, I think I see myself in Milwaukee
I hope
with
so.
a family, with a family, and I don't know. I just want to be. I just want to continue to help others.
Oh my goodness. I think that you're going to do that. And I want to ask about this because when you
Yes.
sent over your bio to me, you said, I am now the owner of Essence Resume Consulting. Tell us about Essence Resume Consulting.
So I just called it a project. I don't want to call it a business because I'm not in
Okay,
it
I
for the
called it a
money.
business.
It's okay. It's okay. I mean, I guess it is what it is, technically. Um, so what it is, it's just I help people write their resumes. I think that it's a way to, again, help them see their skills, their strengths, and then just put it on paper. And what I do is just like a little 20 to 30-minute meeting, and I say, tell me about your work, like from the
Tell me about your
beginning. That's just
story,
what.
right?
Yeah, so I just say, what does work look like you in a regular day? You go in from the moment you go in, and then they start telling me. And I love it because I understand what they're doing. I understand what their jobs are, and somehow I feel a little bit more connected to them, or I get to know them a little bit more. And so I just, write their resumes and then I send it back to them and I give them like a little spiel, like, you can do this. I see these skills in you. A lot of people just work automatically and don't sometimes realize everything that they're learning, and that you can transfer those skills into another place. And that's kind of
Mm.
what happened with me. I learned some skills through my faith community that I applied in my job, that now I'm applying to this project, and it's just everything's just interconnected.
And you gave that image before with your work with Milwaukee Rec, the idea of, you said, I give customer service and I help people and then they go off. And this idea of this service, the Essence Resume
Mhm.
Consulting, you give them some support and then they go off.
Yes, yes. So I want to feed into them that they can do it. There's opportunities for
Oh
them
my
out
goodness.
there, and so that's just kind of my way to facilitate that to them. That a resume, you know, it's not it can't be a roadblock because you're already doing this. You already possess this skill. So this is
Yeah,
kind of what it's about.
there's more inside of you. We just need to bring it out.
Yes. Yes.
Esme, what gives you hope?
I think we talked about this all night, and I think it is opportunities. When I see somebody that's marginalized or someone that you might not expect given an opportunity, that just brings me hope that things are changing and that we're breaking those stereotypes.
You know, you give me hope. You give me great joy in hearing your story. Esme, is there anything else you want to tell us this evening?
No, I think I just want to thank you for having me. It's honestly very humbling that you took your time to hear my journey and my story, and it's amazing.
Your story is amazing. And it's one that I wanted to bring to others because it speaks of, it's never been an easy path for you, this idea of navigating, but somehow through it all, through the perspective and attitude and the courage and the strength and the things that came before you are the things that you bring forward. You know, this idea of opportunity and hope and things are changing. I think that is the way we can change the world, is when we can make the world a healthier place through our physical efforts, our emotional efforts, our mental efforts, and our spiritual efforts. Blanca Esmeralda Martinez, you are an amazing woman, and I thank you for coming on Days of Learning. Now, if people want to get a hold of you through your Essence Resume Consulting, how should they get a hold of you?
Essence Resume Consulting on Facebook.
So you can find it on Facebook. Esmeralda Martinez, thank you for coming on Days of Learning podcast. It has been a joy to have you tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Oh, what a conversation that was. Blanca was so graceful and so humble in her talking about her journey. It has not been easy for her, but yet she persevered and she saw those opportunities. She talked about walking the talk and working hard that her parents gave to her. But she also spoke of perspective and attitude, the courage to try small things, to see where that might lead her. She spoke of struggle, but then she spoke of doing different things, whether it be working at a grocery store, working in a bank, in healthcare, and working in MPS. And certainly at the center of it all was her faith. You know, in believing in what you see, even when you don't see it. I am hopeful about the world and how we can change when we have people like Esme in it. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast and this YouTube video. If you liked it, give us some comments, share it on your social media, subscribe to the podcast. We have a number of guests in the future that I hope that you will enjoy. We'll be speaking more about health and medicine and community engagement and how we can be a healthier community together. But until then, I am your host, David Nelson. This is the Days of Learning podcast. Goodbye and be blessed.